let's now talk just about the role of the Supreme Court, generally speaking, in this election. Are there areas where you feel like the Supreme Court is losing their sense of independence, their legitimacy? Are they stepping into political territory that, with the balance of powers between the courts, the legislative and the executive branches, that historically they've not? What is setting precedent right now?
When you compare this moment to Bush versus Gore, you see something pretty different unfolding. So in Bush versus Gore, a conservative-led majority kind of rushes in to stop a recount in Florida that could have favored Al Gore and says, no, 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 we're just going to issue a limited ruling to prevent this from happening. And oh, by the way, it happens to help determine the election for George W. Bush. He takes office. And there's a kind of taint on the Supreme Court for that. It is seen as partisan. Now, you also have low public approval ratings for the Supreme Court, I think, again, because it is seen as partisan. It has this even stronger conservative majority of justices, all appointed by Republican presidents. And it's talking about issuing a very broad ruling after really, really taking its time in this Trump case. And that seems at odds with the kind of push forward quickly for Bush versus Gore and the breadth of the ruling. And the common factor is that both of these decisions appear to favor Republican candidates for president. That's not going to help the court's reputation.
How likely do you think that's coincidence?
I mean, these are the questions that sort of, they've gotten harder to answer because, you know, as an American, I want to have a good faith belief in the justice's approach to these cases. After a certain number of cases come out particular ways, you start to feel like cynicism is realism about the court. And some of its reasoning in other cases have also given me a lot of doubt about whether there is a real kind of sense of fair-mindedness and rule of law set of principles that are binding some of the conservative justices.
It does seem, when you're trying to understand the Supreme Court, that there's a certain amount of Kremlinology. I mean, just having to read the tea leaves and understanding what these Supreme Court justices actually mean when they're making these decisions and try to get inside their heads.
It's true. It's true. I mean, I think that we do have them playing with ideas at argument, and we get to read what they've written. And sometimes, you know, you could just get a sense of the dynamics based on how they're responding to each other in writing. They're on a kind of publicity tour right now, some of them to reassure everyone about how well they get along with each other individually. I'm personally mystified why they think we should care about that. I don't care whether they can be nice to each other when they're having lunch, whether they're collegial. I care about whether American law is going in a direction that makes sense to most Americans, right? I care about the principles at stake and how much they're agreeing or disagreeing about these fundamental precepts of our legal system. So to me,
I would argue you're an unusual demographic in terms of your engagement with the Supreme Court in the United States.
But why does it matter how well they get along with each other?
For the average American?
Yeah, like that they're modeling collegiality. Like, who cares about that?
Well, in a country where the one thing that Democrats and Republicans agree on is that the other side is trying to destroy democracy, it is interesting and unusual to see a group of conservatives and liberals that actually talk to each other and seem to have respect for each other's people.
I guess I would just say that they all have an incentive to protect the institution, right? The liberals as well as the conservatives, they don't want to see Americans lose total faith in the court. That's not good for them and their job security and their collective legacy. And so it just seems self-interested to me to be going on about like how chatty they are with each other.